Good morning, everybody. Wrong camera. Hold on just 1 second. Let's get this set up correctly. There we go. Awesome. All right. Hello, everybody. Hi, it's Becky from Power Tools with Thread. You are in our Stitchuation room. This is a Monday through Friday virtual stitching retreat. Good to see everybody here in the chat. Nice to see you guys. My laptop's over there now. We're at my cutting table. So Frida's going to come over here looking for her biscuit. Let me turn the camera around and we can talk to her, and then I can also share something with you. Hold on a second here. Let's turn this around so everybody can see my messy room. Hope you guys are doing good. Okay, let me point this downwards for Miss Frito. Let me get her little biscuits. She's here with me. Yeah, where you at, Frito? Where's her at? Where's that Frito? Come here. There she is. That's Mama's girl. You ready for your biscuit? That's your Dave biscuit. That's a good girl. Yep. You want the other one? Such a sweet baby. This is our little rescue Frito. We've had her 2 years this month, and she's just such a doll. There's your stick. All right. See you later. So while I have you guys here, she went through the door, gone. Let me show you. This video is all about prepping t-shirts to get them ready to go into a quilt. So I'm going to show you the t-shirt quilt that I made for my husband years and years ago. This one, the shirts in here, it's a Harley Davidson, and the shirts in here are all 100% cotton. Okay, so that I bring that up because it's important when you're considering things that you're going to put in your quilts. I cannot see the chat right now, just FYI, so I'll be able to see it when I step back around. But let me point this to the other side of the room, and I'm going to back up so you can see this. Now, there are all different kinds of t-shirt quilts, okay? And this one is a 3 across and 4 down. So let me lay it down on the ground so you can take a look at it. So one of the things you need to think about when you're going to be building a t-shirt quilt is to consider, of course, the pattern, right? What's the pattern you've got going on? So, and that's based, of course, on the size of the shirts and what you want to do. Let me double check the chat and make sure I'm not missing anything super. Okay. So this particular quilt, all of the blocks are the same size, and I have seen patterns where blocks are different sizes, and you may have a need to do that based on the image that you are wanting to play with for the quilt. Okay, this one has sashing. Now I chose to put sashing in this, and let me get in here, I'll show you. I made cornerstones out of, oh, it's pouring, it just opened up outside. Cornerstones out of the tags in the back of the shirts. Okay, I made little cornerstones. Oh, wrong way. So those are all genuine Harley Davidson tags in the shirts. Okay. So if you'd like to do that, that's fine. These are all genuine Harley Davidson shirts. If you're wanting to make a Harley Davidson t-shirt, if any of your t-shirts contain that are not genuine Harley Davidson, and we'll talk about that in a minute too, then you might not want to do that, okay? But I chose to frame each one of the shirts in the sashing, so each picture, the picture is framed, basically, is why I did it like that, okay? Each one of these has a special meaning. Either it's an event we went to, it might be where he purchased a motorcycle or two, or whatever. So, you know, or maybe it was somewhere like Boston Harley where he went and visited when he was going TDY somewhere. So, matter of fact, the gentleman whose quilt I am making today brought my husband this particular shirt right here. And this one is from UAE in Dubai. So just neat, interesting things. So there was a lot of consideration put into how this whole quilt was going to be designed. Okay. And then the quilting on the back of it, the batting is an 80/20, and the quilting on the back of it, I don't know if you can see, it is a variegated thread in orange, and I don't know if you can see it. So there is an eagle. It's also dog fur now. Okay. So here's the beak of the eagle, and it's got a wing that comes up. And my friend Lorena from Lorena's Quilting on YouTube, she quilted this for me. So that was long before I had a long arm. So this quilt's pretty old. Okay, so I just wanted to look at that. The sky got really dark outside my door and it dumped. So I wanted to talk to you about the consideration and construction of as far as pattern and whatnot, of what goes into a quilt. Okay. So I mentioned that all of my husband's shirts all the shirts that went into that are 100% cotton. Not all shirts will be that way. I made one for my brother-in-law who was a runner. He traveled around the United States and went to every single rock and roll marathon in like 2019 or 18 or something. Anyway, I can't remember. It was before COVID, well before COVID. So he rolls into San Antonio in December to run the race, and has a suitcase dedicated to just all of the shirts that he had gotten for running the marathons. And those shirts were a performance knit. Okay. So performance knits and cotton knits are manufactured differently. All right. They don't behave the same. And exactly like cotton knits are not the same as a woven quilted cotton. I'm trying to catch you guys' comments to make sure I'm not missing anything. So a shirt, a t-shirt is not going to behave the same as a quilted cotton. For one, knits curl. Okay, if you've ever cut the hem off of a t-shirt and the shirt just curls, right? It'll curl every time. So you want to stop that from happening. So you need to consider exactly what the makeup is of the shirt. Performance knits generally don't curl. Okay. However, you need to make sure that the knits are stabilized. And to do that, I prefer Pellon's 911 fusible. This is 911 FW. FW is for featherweight. Okay. So this is a 911 fusible. This is very, very lightweight. Okay. It's not sheer. You can use a sheer. This is not a woven fabric. All right. You can use SF101, but that's going to change the hand of the cotton that in the shirt. It's going to make it more stiff and less drapey. So I prefer the Pellon's 911F. I've used this in both of the t-shirt quilts that I have made. They've turned out beautifully. It launders beautifully. Okay. Generally, this is used inside of bands on shirts, cuffs, and collars when you're making garments. So I've had this for my garment sewing days. You can use whatever you want. I'm just telling you what I use. Okay. Be careful with things that are very sheer. Again, you need it to stabilize without causing any kind of weight to it. So somebody has rolled in, you said, sure, I'll make a t-shirt quilt. And they roll in with a bag full of t-shirts or two, right? So you can, first thing, okay, inspect the shirts. You're going to want to run the shirts through the laundry if they have any odor to them, because they can transfer that odor into, if they get on top of quilting cottons in your sewing studio, you're going to want to wash them. I like to wash them with vinegar. A cup of vinegar in the laundry is all you need with regular soap and all that. That's going to take care of getting rid of body odors and pet odors. And you definitely want to make sure you're not bringing fur or fleas or anything else into your house, into your sewing studio, bugs, whatever. Who knows what comes from people's houses, right? My friends are particularly fastidious, all right? So everything came in on nice hangers because he had a ginormous closet, probably the size of this sewing room, full of clothes and full of shirts and whatnot. Oh, so first things first is to inspect what comes in uh, for the cottons and then get them laundered if necessary. Tumble them in a dryer, get them nice and dry. It's even if it's a, especially if it's a brand new shirt, if you've got brand new clothing, generally they're memory type things. But yeah, kids are smelly. I know farmhouse they are. Kids are smelly. So you're going to want to do that. And most quilters don't think to wash, a top when it rolls in, but clothes are different. These are clothes, okay? And you don't know what they have been washed with or how they've been washed. So I just recommend that you throw them through your wash routine as a quilter, put in a cup of vinegar, and that's going to really take care of any kind of sanitizing and anything like that without causing any kind of discoloration. And then dry the fire out of them so that they shrink up as small as possible. That is best. Coffee, you guys. Mm. Bernadette says don't use fabric softener. You can. The vinegar is going to act as a softener a little bit. Okay. Be sure to clean out your lint trap and all that so you don't get lint extra floating around in there or whatever. If you use fabric softener and you want to use fabric softener, that's fine. Be careful if the fabric softener has a scent and I don't recommend scent beads. Those weren't a thing when I made my first ones, but you don't want to return the quilt to somebody that has sensitivities. Of course, they could wash it, right? But fabric softener makes knits, especially, more drapey and easy to use. So you might think of using one that's unscented. Okay. So that's my 2 cents. Okay. We've covered, considering whether you want to use framing around the quilt as far as the sashing. I like that. That's me personally. I like that. Okay. The next thing you have to do is to decide what, get Fritos biscuits out of here. So that quilt that I showed you guys had 12 shirts in it, and you have to go through and pick. And the customer may tell you, or your friend may tell you, I don't care. Here's a whole bunch of shirts. Do with it what you will. And some of them, if you want to use them and you don't have room on the front because it's just getting ginormously big, you can put them on the back. You could do that. Okay. So yes, put the 911F on before cutting the shirt. I'm going to get to that. Yes. Yeah, you do want to do that. You definitely want to add stabilizer before you cut. Otherwise, your edges are going to curl. The stabilizer prevents that from happening. Okay. So let's talk about my customer, my friend gave me all these shirts. What do I do? So I'm going to take a look at this, and it helps to know the person if possible. Okay. So this shirt is from Barb's Harley Davidson in Philadelphia. And I can tell right now, not all of these shirts are genuine Harley shirts. So I probably won't use Harley tags in the cornerstones because Harley people are very funny about that. Harley people are funny about that, most of them. If it's got Harley tags that are in the cornerstones, it better be a Harley shirt all the way around. At least the people that I know. No outsiders. It's up to you. But they're very funny about their motorcycles. I know. So, at least the ones I hung out with. We'll go with that. Now, this one is kind of a plain Jane thing right here, but it's from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He was born in Pennsylvania. He's from Pennsylvania. But on the back, look at that. Now that's a cool. We got the Liberty Bell, a motorcycle, the bridge. Is that the key? I don't know the bridges up there. You guys let me know. Not everyone's a Harley snob, Marge says. Okay. No, they're not. They're not. Know whoever it is that you're going to be making it for. So I probably won't use this particular one, but I will use this one. All right. I'm not going to return the scraps to my friend. She would not want them. She wouldn't want anything to do with them. Okay. Ask your customer or whoever you're making it for, do they want the scraps back? Okay, because they may want them for something. They may want to turn it into a pillow one day. Who knows? I'm not doing that. I'm making a quilt. Okay. Yeah. So I will use, because he is from Philadelphia, and it says he's not from, he's from Pennsylvania. I don't know if he's from Philly or not. But because he's from Pennsylvania, I definitely want to use this one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut up this shirt and show you how I would cut that up. But you're going to want to go through these. So here is Hill Country Run from 2018, a motorcycle rally. That's okay. But this is better. It's got the logo from Lukenbach, Texas, which is kind of a thing around here. Okay. And we rode for years around in the hill country. So this, I'm going to choose this one instead of this one. And when you're making these, don't worry so much about the colors and the logos that might clash with one another. Not that big of a deal on sports shirts kind of thing, but when you've got stuff that has a lot of colors, I worry more when I'm putting it together about the color of the fabric going side by side as opposed to the color of the logo. Okay, so let's go to Lukenbach, Texas with Waylon, Willie, and the boys. And so I'm going to use this one as well. So here's a performance knit shirt. That one's very cool. Very, very neat. That's a cool shirt with the skull. See that? Very cool. I'm going to treat this performance knit as far as backing it first with the Pellon the same. This one is from Afghanistan. See, it says Bagram, Afghanistan. So he picked this shirt up when he was over in Afghanistan. This one is going into the quilt, right? So that's what you kind of have to do. It doesn't have anything on the back, okay? So that's what you have to do, is kind of go through them, and you can ask them, are there any in particular, because I'm not going to use everything that's here. What do you want specifically? Is there anything? She didn't tell me that, okay? It's the Girard Point Bridge, 1950 something, that goes into Philly. Thank you, Peggy. Appreciate that. So let's see. I've got another one here. Harley Davidson, authentic. It doesn't have a town or anything on it. And down here, Pensacola. They spent a load of time in Pensacola. He was stationed there for a while. Well, TDY. So, okay. He was an aircraft maintenance guy for the Air Force forever. Retired Chief Master Sergeant, and then became a contractor and went over to the desert to teach the Afghans how to fix airplanes. Pretty cool. All right, so I will be going through all of these to kind of pick and choose which ones. And then once I get those picked out, I'll take a picture. I'll tell my friend, I can only use X number of these, or I might put some on the back. Do you have a preference? And so we'll go through that process, okay? You also might consider some of them, if you want to take a little piece, like if you're using clothing that is, say, baby dresses. I have seen a key made where they took a strip of each piece of the clothing that's on the front and put it on the back with a little label next to each clothing piece, christening dress, 2021 or whatever. And they had a little key on the back. So that's really neat too. A nice memento. All right, so let's go through how I would cut these up. Now, I wanted to use my heat press. The electricity in my room, I have a giant UPS. I have a power supply down under here, and it's a big, what do you call those things, so that it doesn't pop the circuit. It said no. I plugged that thing into it, and it said no, too much power draw, not going to play. So I'm not going to use the heat press. I am just going to use my regular iron. Okay. So also to make a t-shirt quilt or something, you're going to need a large square ruler. This is a 15-inch OmniGrid. This is what I have always used to make my t-shirt quilts. I like the 15-inch because it's going to allow me to cut those large images. See how big that is? These are large images, and you need a big ruler. You don't need it. It's going to make your life a lot easier. A lot easier. Okay. So this image, and you also don't, you want to try not to whack off part of the image. So this image is pretty big. Okay. It's a good 14 inches, 13 inches. See that? By the time it's all laid out, it's got some drape to it by now. So plus you're going to add an extra little bit around the outsides for seam allowance so you don't, cut it off. Harley, this is just my experience with Harley shirts. Now, you may also have some very cool things on a sleeve, and you can sew sleeve parts together to make a block and put them, you can do that, right? Okay. We have fresh fruit. Norma, thank you. We have a virtual kitchen. If y'all are wandering around in there, please hit the thumbs up button. I appreciate that. So let's get into how. Oh, and if you're sitting on your couch, grab your channel up, hit the channel button and hit a press up. Thumbs up. That's great. Appreciate it. I'm brave not to use a heat press. Oh, I've never used one. As a matter of fact, this was a grand idea I had last night. Okay, so let's talk about cutting a t-shirt. Do you want to retain the tags? Okay. I don't know. I don't think that one from Afghanistan is actual Harley. Oh, it might be. It has a Harley tag in it. I don't think it's genuine. I think it's a knockoff. Pretty sure. I don't know. It might be. Who knows? All right. So I'm going to show you guys how I cut my t-shirts to prep them for stabilizing. Okay. So I want to get the shirt. Let's point this down and back you out just a tiny bit. Okay. This is where the rotary cutter is your friend. All right. So I've decided that I want this one right here. Okay. This is what I'm after. And I don't care about what's on the front, and that doesn't matter. So I'm going to take my rotary cutter, and this is going to make your life so much easier. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and start up here. I'm going to cut the sleeve off. All right. And I'm going to come down the side, and you want extra shirt out here. Don't cut real close to the picture. Go ahead and cut your sides off. Okay. Make sure the picture that you want is facing up to you so you can see it. Okay. So now I've got this piece, and then what you can do is cut off the neckline. And if you want the tag, pull the tag up, and you just do this straight across. Okay. So I've kept the tag. I'm not going to use the tag, but I've kept it. All right. So here we go. Now here's the piece that I want. It's already curling at the neck. You can see that. And here's the piece I'm not going to use. So I'm going to set this over here. So now I am ready to put my stabilizer on the back. And I can easily see from this side of the shirt where the design is, okay? And so I'm going to cut a piece of stabilizer. Normally, I'll cut these all first, and I don't really measure them. You can also use, I have it here, this like a Cricut press. You can use these, okay? Again, I have power issues in this place. Oh, I've got pieces in here, parts and pieces, okay. So I want to, a little bit below, I've got about an inch below, about an inch around, okay. And I'm just going to take some scissors here, do that. And so now I know it's going to fit. If it's a white shirt, watch out for extra threads or anything like that. You don't want to fuse color into the shirt inside of it, between the fusible and the, you know, the t-shirt, okay? If you have a white one. Okay. This is an interfacing. This is Pellon's 911F is what it is. Okay, I've got it about an inch below where the image stops. And you notice I have not trimmed that up. Now, I need to decide, okay, you're going to need to decide your largest block first. There are lots of patterns out there. Y'all, hold on a second. I need to make sure my husband's out of bed. He's got a doctor's appointment. Hold on. You're up. Good. I did. Okay. He said, you forgot to wake me up. Okay. You need to decide your largest block for your quilt. So that's one of the reasons you've got to check the layout and see how all that's going to work. Okay. So if you have a pattern that has, because there's a lot of patterns like out on Etsy where you can, it's got blocks that overlap one another and they're all different sizes, and that kind of pattern may work for you. I'm doing a straight flat 12 block quilt. Okay. So you need to decide what's going to work for you. And I cut this exactly to 15 inches. That was a fluke, but you need to do that. Okay. All right. So I've got 15-inch square ruler, and I've got stabilizer all the way out to the sides of it. So this is going to work just fine. I'm only going to press, you know, you can mark it if you want. Okay. And I would recommend you put an inch all the way around until you finalize your size of your blocks and figure out where everything's going to be. I can't remember what I did with Keith's original quilt, what that size was. It might have been 14. I don't know. Because, and that is completely up to you. If you're a brand new quilter, you may want to do that. Just go ahead and make a straight, every block the exact same size. It's going to depend on the size of the person. Okay. If the person wore medium t-shirts, you don't need this big 15-inch square block. You'll have a lot of t-shirt over on the sides, or if they wore 2X t-shirts, you might be skimping to try to get the image all inside of this 15-inch ruler. Okay. So, all right. So I'm just going to go ahead and press this on. I need to get this thing down. Ugh. It's just bulky here. Get it out of my way. Oh, and it's heavy. Oh, I had my husband put it in here last night. Okay. There we go. Step over that. Okay. And let me turn this on. See if you guys can see what I'm doing here. Maybe. I need to get you up higher. Let me see. I'm gonna move this camera up so you guys can see what I'm doing a little bit better. And my body's not in the way. There we go. Okay. So I'm gonna make sure I don't have any bubbles in here. Okay. And I'm just gonna start pressing. The glue bumps are down. I hope this sticks. This stuff is 10 years old, if it's a day. It seems like it's doing okay. But I just want to make sure. This is the most tedious part of this, is picking the shirts and then cutting them out and then getting them stabilized. And I'm using a non-woven stabilizer, Pellon's 911F. Okay. And it's not really going to change the hand of the t-shirt at all, but it's going to launder beautifully. It's not going to shrink. It's not going to bubble. That's why I don't recommend 911, I'm sorry, Pellon's SF101. I don't recommend that because it will shrink and it'll bubble your pieces. So that turned out beautiful. Look at that. Nice and pretty, no wrinkles. Okay, just gorgeous. That's what I'm after. And it's nice and droopy. Okay. Have I ever made the photo quilts? No, I have not. No. All right. So now I'm ready to cut this. Okay. So when you're going to cut these shirts, it's hard to get a rotating mat that's large enough. My husband just drove off. Okay. I was not using steam. No. No, Vicky, you can iron on these logos. They're fine. Well, that's a good point. If you've got cheap shirts that you're working with, okay, do a little test. And if you need to, y'all can go to the Target somewhere, Amazon, get a Teflon sheet. This is actually an oven liner that I bought from Bed Bath & Beyond years and years ago. And I cut it into a couple of 4 pieces. So this is a Teflon sheet, okay? And that's the cheapest way, is to buy an oven liner, a Teflon oven liner. All right. And then you can press right on this. But I was pressing on the back of the logo. But you don't know what those decals are made out of. So if they were made cheaply, yeah, I ironed right. Oh, your logos stick to the iron. Turn it over. Yeah, I was ironing on the back, right? I was ironing on the back of the shirt. I wasn't ironing on the front. You wouldn't iron to the front. You want the stabilizer to the back of the shirt, okay? To the back side. You don't want to put stabilizer over the front. You won't see it. So you can use parchment paper, whatever. Just use something if you've got cheap logos, okay? Or if the logo is going to stick. These logos are not the kind that will stick. All right. So now I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to do. Let me get, I need to step over here, get a different mat. Let me have this. Let me have this. All right. So it's hard to find, and they're very impractical, ginormous rotary mats. So you can use a mat on a mat. Anytime you don't have a rotary mat, you can use a mat on a mat. And I'm running out of space here, is what I'm doing. So I got to move all this stuff out of the way. You need a big space to work on this, y'all, because you got a lot that's going to be going on. Okay. And get this pellon out of the way, get these scissors out of the way. Let me get my Cricut iron out of the way. Okay. Oh man, something spilled. The little clips that hold my fabric. Oh well. That's how it goes. So I'm going to use a mat on a mat. I should know better than to keep things out that aren't enclosed in a box. Okay. So now let's talk about fussy cutting this. This is really important, the fussy cutting part. Okay. All right, let's take a look. So, what have we here? All right. Let me turn it toward me so it's straight and I can see it. All right, so this is straight up to me. This looks good. And I'm going to put my ruler on it. Now, I'm going to check and look for equal distance. I'm cutting these blocks to 15. They're going to be 14.5-inch finished. Okay. So I'm looking for an inch. I could cut it a 1/2 inch and make it smaller, but I haven't looked at all of them. So I'm just going to cut them to 15. Okay. So I've got an inch up here between the top of the letters and the end of the ruler. And I've got less than, I've got 7/8 up here. So we're going to split the difference. So there's top and bottom. Okay. Little less than an inch, top and bottom. Then I've got my 1/4 inch seam allowance. So that's going to give me that. This is why you want this square ruler. You can measure this out yourself, but it's really hard. So if you're going to make a t-shirt quilt, make your life easy and invest. I think this, it was quite a bit when I bought it back in the day. I want to say $30 or $40 for this ruler. Okay. So now I'm going to look. I've got 1 1/4 inch here and 1 1/4 inch here. That's perfect. This is straight. Whoops, I just messed it up. Okay. This is straight. I'm looking at the grid based on the image. Everything looks right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Okay. I'm going to put this down so I don't knock it around. And again, if you don't have a rotary mat, which you probably don't because they're expensive and they're usually not this big, a mat on a mat becomes your rotary mat. Okay. Rotary cutter straight up. Just pull that away. Y'all, these have been hanging in my closet for a couple weeks in my laundry room on the hanging thing there. I want them gone. And I'm starting here and backing up and then going back over it because I don't want that little pull. Sometimes it's hard to catch that right in the beginning there on these when you're doing this. And I don't want anything to catch and pull the shirt or shift it under the ruler. I like it exactly where it is. Okay. You are welcome, Monica. You are welcome. Okay. There we go. So that's it. So there is one of the quilt blocks. And you can see it is wanting to curl a little bit because I was a little bit shy right there of the pellon, but it's okay. That's going to be in the seam allowance. I leave the pellon in the seam allowance. Don't worry about that. But there you go. There's a beautiful block for the quilt. So you've got to stabilize your knits. Okay. You see that? Isn't that nice? It's draping nice. It's got a little bit of body. It's going to behave well when it gets sewn together and sashing. Okay. You can treat, yes, that's a good question, Teeny. Teeny talking. You can treat sweatshirts exactly the same. Um, because it is a fleece, you don't necessarily have to stabilize it, but fleece will curl as well. So you might use a lighter weight fleece if sorry, stabilizer. If you can find one, use a lighter weight one, but the 911 will work fine for that as well. You will squish it down with the heat. That happens, right? But it's going in a quilt. And don't forget, so this is going to have batting under it when it gets on the long arm and gets quilted out. Okay. So that's pretty much it as far as how to prep t-shirts for a t-shirt quilt. This is ready to go. So I'm going to do some more. Okay. How do I cut blocks? How do I store the cut blocks while I'm piecing? Lynn, I just store them in a stack and because they're big and I just store them flat. And I will use so I'll lay them all out on the floor. Okay. And then I use, whether I use a friction fine liner or even a Crayola marker, it just matters. It depends on if the shirt's black or what, but I will write on the back of the stabilizer what number it is in the quilt. So I number my quilt blocks 1 1, 1 2, 1 3, 1 4. Okay. Row 1, column 1, row 1, column 2. And then it'll do 2 1, 2 2, 2 3, 2 4, etc. 3 1, 3 2, 3 3, 3 4. Just like that. I'll number them. And then when I go to put them together, I can know which one I'm doing because I wanted them in a certain place. Okay. So can I quilt over vinyl tape logos? You really, I'm glad you brought that up. You really need to quilt over logos. Okay. I tried with my brother-in-law's quilt, I tried to have Lorena not quilt over those vinyl logos. And she was like, I don't think it's going to work. And she was absolutely right. Okay. You need to stitch over these because they are on a knit and not on a woven cotton. If you only stitch around a logo, it's going to be real puffy and bubbly and it doesn't look good at all. Just stitch right through it. She stitched around them and it actually cost me more money. When I came to pick it up, I saw it and I was like, oh, it looked terrible. She said, that's what you wanted. And I said, I know, and it's my fault. And so it cost me more money to have her load it back on the long arm and actually go in and stitch over those logos to make it look right. That was an expensive quilt. So you definitely want to stitch over logos because even though it's a logo, it is printed on or pressed onto a knit, and that knit has got to be quilted down or else it's going to bubble and shift and get little waves in it and all kinds of stuff. Even though it is stabilized, they are not going to lay flat and they'll get real poofy and ugly. Okay, they'll just get ugly. So if you are taking it to a long armor, just have them, I mean, unless you're taking it to somebody like Natalia Bonner who can, custom quilt the fire out of it and it's gorgeous. Or Bernie who comes in here, she's so good. So you don't use a batting, they're so heavy anyway, or you use flannel, Amy. Okay. Yeah, what you put inside of it is up to you. That quilt that I showed you guys at the beginning, the one that I made for Keith, I didn't know any better. I just used an 80/20. I want to say it's from Warm is what I used, the Warm company, their old 80/20 it was a package that I got at Hobby Lobby probably. Didn't know any better. I will use 100% cotton in this one. Okay. I like the way it felt on that. So then the quilting, the one I did for Keith, the quilting, it was a big large print and it was fine, but it was enough that there was quilting. The density of the quilting in the block was enough that it didn't cause bumps. So you don't have to quilt the fire out of it, and make it dense like a flak vest, but you definitely want your, let me show you the quilting on that particular quilt, and we'll get up close. You can take a look at it. The quilting on it is, the design has enough parts and pieces so that the shirts, let me get one that you can see it. Let's see where you can see it pretty good. I guess here on the white one. Here's one from Joplin. I don't know. Look at this one here from Caliente, Harley Davidson here in San Antonio. Where's my zoomer? Oh, I can't reach it. Okay. So the density of the quilting is large, but it's large enough to be, here, you see this one here from Cowboys, Harley, San Antonio, again, okay. So the density of the quilting is enough that the t-shirt doesn't have room to bubble, okay? So that's really important. You don't want to have room to bubble, but it's not so dense that it feels like a flak vest, okay? So that's a consideration too when you're doing, what design you choose to quilt this. You can do stipples and loops and that kind of thing, okay? You can see it pretty good here in this one. See the loops? And they're nice. So that worked out really well. But you don't want it to go around so that the t-shirt has room to puddle. This one has a big space right here. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So here's a big space on this t-shirt that didn't get quilted as part of the design right here. And see this? There it is. See how it bubbles? It could use some stitching through there, okay? But that was not part of the design that was chosen. So if you stitch around a picture, a large picture, it's gonna bubble and it's gonna look terrible. It's gonna look terrible. FYI. Okay. Yeah. Edge to edging, Harriet only uses edge to edge on t-shirt quilts, and that's really the best. I don't recommend custom quilting. Just, it's a waste of money, really. Just do an edge to edge and have it. Do I use cotton fabric to connect the pieces? Yes. So I did get woven cotton fabric for the, what did I do with it? I don't remember where I put the fabric. I put it in something. Yes. Let me get it. I chose quilting cottons for the sashing and the backing and all of that. Okay. So I took into consideration my friend's home, which is all kind of a farmhouse light gray and tan inside. So this is going to be the sashing right here, this light gray grunge. And this is going to be for a border. If I need a border, this will be the border, okay? I purchased this fabric. I haven't charged her for it, so that if I keep it, it's mine. It's not a big deal. And then I got a solid gray for the binding. I cannot remember. I want to say that I did put strips of the Pelon 911F inside of this so that it was the same weight as the blocks. I want to say I did that. And the in the seam allowances weren't bulky. Okay. So that's completely up to you. You can check that. You can test it and sew one together and see if it's going to be bulky. And if it is, then take it out. But that's another reason you want a featherweight stabilizer. Okay. Interfacing. I say stabilizer. They're kind of the same thing, but and then the backing will just be the cotton underneath, the quilting cotton. And this is the backing I chose. It looks like, I love it. It looks like city streets, and they rode all the time. And it's called City Harbor. And I like it. It's got some gray and green in the back. Look at that. Isn't that cool? I thought that was a nice backing. Yeah, give Becky a thumbs up. You betcha. Okay. So I am using 911 FW. All right. You can use 911 F. Same. They're very close. I don't know what the difference between them are. So anyway, this is going to be the backing of the quilt. So that'll be nice. Very nice. Okay. So her house is kind of this farmhouse gray. And there is so much gray in these shirts that this is going to look really nice. I think it's going to be beautiful. What about flannel for the backing? You can, I guess, Deborah, if you live in a cold climate. Y'all, I'm in deep South Texas. It's hot here all the time. So she'll probably lay this out on her couch as a display as opposed to cuddling under it. And if she does cuddle under it, it's for like 30 days out of the year, January, February type. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of exactly how to do it. If you want to watch me, we got a couple more minutes. I'll go ahead and do another shirt. And since I've already decided which ones I'm going to use. Now, you want to be judicious in which shirts you choose if they give you a whole bunch, because you don't want to, put a backing on them and waste that. Right? You don't want to do that. So let me go ahead and get this one from Afghanistan. Where was that? Not here. So here is the one. This is a performance knit. Okay. It's not Lycra. It's a stable knit. It's very stable. It doesn't really have any stretch. I have to say that this is a knockoff. I just feel like it is because I thought it was Bagram with an M, and it has an N on there, Bagran. And I thought it ended in an M. I might be wrong, but so this one's small. This is a medium shirt. So let me take a look and see if it's even going to work. Okay. If I need to have blocks. Oh, so one thing I did on my brother-in-law's shirt, he had one shirt. It had a tennis shoe across here, one shoe, and the back of the shirt had another shoe going the other way. So I fussy cut those straight and put those shoes together and sewed them down the middle so it looked like a pair of shoes in one block. So you can do that. It is Bagram with an M. I thought so. I wasn't over there, but it's definitely a knockoff. I need to ask her because that bothers me. That would probably bother her too. And it's not the same fabric. So we're going to hold off on this. Okay. And the reason I say, I know it was just a souvenir. This is too small for him. So yeah, with an M. All right. So that bothers me. You got to watch stuff comes from overseas 9 times out of 10. Okay. It's going to be a knockoff for sure. But it has a Harley tag in it. First of all, it's not the standard size of a Harley Davidson tag. And on the back, it just says Harley Davidson. It doesn't say, that's not how Harley stuff works. So here's a genuine Harley tag, came from a Harley dealership. That's where he bought all his stuff. And it's got St. Louis, Missouri or something on the back. I don't know. Okay. But this is a genuine Harley shirt because that came from a Harley dealership. So anyway, that's just me. I'm too picky. I wouldn't put that in my quilt. That would drive me nuts. it may not bother her. She may not know the difference. And if it was something that he liked and he bought it and she wants it in the quilt, then fine. I'll have to ask her about that. Okay. You are welcome. You want to make a t-shirt quilt? Oh, yeah, for your blood donors. Awesome. Oh, your blood donor shirts? Yeah, I know. My husband had a whole bunch of those. All right, let's get this. This is from Corpus Christi, Harley Davidson. There we go. There's that nice big bridge. We got over. Okay, this one's going to have a really tall. We've got a cowboy hat way up here in the top of Texas. Where is that going to? Yep, that's good. Oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to start with a mat on the mat. That's going to make your life easy, right? Get rid of this. Again, well outside of the image. Don't cut too close. You might have to mark with pins where the image is so that you can make sure that you get your pellon on the back of it in the right place. Okay. So there's what we want. Okay. Boring. Don't need that one. So this is the one I want here. So I'll go ahead now and take my, I'm going to put my ruler on it and get a general idea of where I want it. So the design is centered. There's 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, 1 3/8 top bottom, side to side. 1.25 inches. Oh, we got inch right there. That looks good. So now I could take some of the magic pins with the silicone heads, all right, and I'm just going to pin it on this in the center right here, and that'll give me the edges of where I need that stabilizer to go, or the interfacing. Okay, I guess I do need to call it interfacing because you won't find it in stabilizers on Amazon. You can just 911F. Okay, all right. Oh, there we are. Stop that. Oh. So now I can see the pin in the back. See the pin right there at the top? So now I can see where my margins are for where I need to put the interfacing and make sure that I get it exactly where I need it. Okay. Cool. All right. Cool. Oh, let me put this back up here. There we go. All right, you guys. Let me see. Careful cutting apart the shirts. You've needed part of the sleeve to make blocks. Yeah, Stephen, that's true. I know. Yeah, I don't cut off the since I'm not using the seam on the sleeve. I don't cut off I leave the sleeves whole. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Please give me a thumbs up. I appreciate that, and subscribe. You're going to join me on the journey here, putting this t-shirt quilt together because I want it out of my life. I don't like it hanging around waiting to be done. So, hey, 12 o'clock today Central, I will be on Sewing Machines Plus Takeover Tuesday. I'm going to do a quilt as you go on the long arm, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So join me there. Be sure to do that. And when you get over on their channel, be sure to like and subscribe that as well. I will talk to you soon. You guys go sew something. Bye.